isn't that? Okay, you're on.
Alright, so today we're going to be making 2 pop-up cards. This one's a dandelion and this one's a carnation. And they're going to be closed with ribbons. I'm going to set these aside so we can start making them. We're going to start with the carnation. So just to start off everything really easy, you're just gonna, in your kit, you're gonna have 2 pieces of cardstock. You're just gonna fold those both in half. So this one I pre-folded. So got my card base. My card base. If you choose to use a hot glue gun, you will want to start it pretty much as soon as you sat down to start this craft. Mine's already warmed up. So I'm going to put my ribbons on now on my cards so that that is out of the way. I have one on the side here, the dandelion, and this is going to be one for the carnation. That way the ribbons will be dry and out of the way by the time we actually put the flowers in the cards. So you just sort of want to line up the ribbon with the center of the card and then line up the 2 ends. Doesn't have to be super exact. And then you can either put the glue on the ribbon or on the paper. Because I'm using a hot glue gun, I just find it easier to put it on the paper. But if you're not, you can always put it on the ribbon. If you do not want to glue the ribbon on, you can just make a small hole right about here, one on the other side, and just thread the ribbon through to also close your card. I'm just slipping to the other side, and I'm going to glue the other side of the ribbon down. If you're really sensitive to heat or worried about burning yourself, the hot glue gun, you can always use a pencil to push it down like this if you don't want to touch it. Or you can use a pencil. I have a tipless pencil for everything that is not tracing, or any sort of like a skier or a little little stick of some sort will work. So one is done. Just gonna put that to the side to dry. I'm gonna do the other one. Same thing. You can always trim some ribbon off after you've glued it, but you don't need to before. Alright, while those are drying, we're going to start with the carnation, and we're going to start by, you want to take out your little piece of cardstock, cut in a rectangle, and you're going to have a little pattern, and it's going to be the one with the less pointy petals, and it'll also say carnation on the bottom. And so you're going to take the pattern part first, and you just want to cut it out. Doesn't have to be super exact. If it's a little bit off, no big deal. It just actually makes your pattern and your flower look more natural. So the part I'm currently cutting out is going to be the petal, and the other part is the leaf. We're going to cut these out and then trace them onto the little rectangle of cardstock to make stencils that you can use again and again. You can also just use, if you prefer to use cardboard over cardstock, you can also make the stencils out of cardboard. I just find cardstock to be easier to cut. There's the petal. And there's the leaf. And you can just put this to the side or throw it out. I'm not near garbage right now, so I'm just going to put it to the side. So then you're going to want to take your tipped pencil, or I advise a pencil, because in case when you cut it out, in case you want to erase, it's easier to use a pencil. You're going to take the straight edges and line them up with one of the corners of the rectangle. And then just press it down and trace it on. And then just put the leaf somewhere on the other side of the petal and trace that on. And then cut it out just like you did with the pattern. And then you'll have 2 stencils. You can either throw out the pattern if you want. I usually keep them just in case I have to remake a stencil. That way I still have the original pattern. So I'm just going to put that over there. You don't have to use a hot glue gun for this, you just have to use a glue that's good on paper. So the colors in your kit for the carnation, not that you have to use them, are reds or pinks, and then the dark green. But feel free to switch it up, because flowers come in all sorts of different colors. I'm just going to be demonstrating with the traditional color. So now I've got my 2 stencils, my leaf and my petal. I'm just going to set them to the side. And we're going to start by, you find the pink one, and it's going to have a white side. Some do not, but if you do have a white side, you're just going to fold that in. So you're going to fold it in half, and then keep it folded in half like this, and fold it again. And you're going to do that for all 4 pieces of the pink. And you want to make sure, as you're folding it, that you keep track of where the folded sides are and where the loose, not attached sides are. because I know I did that fast. You're folding it in half this way, and then I just folded, after I was done, I just folded it in half again to make little squares. So for the green one, if you have a white side, it doesn't matter if you do or don't, because the leaves are gonna be one-sided anyways. If you wanna make a lot of leaves, you can just trace them onto the green one. The fastest way though to make a lot is just fold it in half. And I'm only gonna make 4, so I'm just gonna trace 2 leaves onto my folded in half green. So I'm just gonna put my leaf stencil over to the side with that. So the reason why it was important to keep track of which side were the loose sides, because when you trace on your petal, you wanna make sure that its straight edges line up with the folded sides. So the sides where it's folded all the way through over here and not loose, you wanna make sure that your petal lines up with those. You want to make sure you use those same folded corners for every single one. So I'm just going to trace them on to all my pinks. Again, doesn't have to be super exact. You just want to get the relative little petal grooves at the top. I missed a little part here, so I'm just going to draw that in. This little petal part, okay. You can just freehand draw them in. So all my petals are traced on. Now I'm just going to trace on my leaf. I want to use some of my green for later, so I'm just going to trace them on really close to each other so that I have leftover green. I want to use it later. I'm just going to cut out my leaves first because they're nice and simple. So I've got 4, 2 for each side. I'm going to put those up. I'm going to take my stencils and set them aside so they're out of my way. And now I'm going to cut out my petals. You want to make sure everything is still all lined up. Don't unfold anything. And just cut them out. can unfold your petal after you're done, and it's going to look something like this. And then I'm just going to put that over in my trash pile. Second one. Working on my third. And if you want, you can go along and see if you left any little pencil marks from when you traced and just erase them. I'm going to take a break and check mine before I do the last one. That one looks good. Okay, that one looks good. Side, trash can, cut out my last one. I like to move the paper and the scissors, it just makes it easier for me to cut out the tops of the petals. Aha, there we go. Okay, put that aside, put my pencil and my scissors aside, and pull them all forward. So, you're going to need your scissors again, and your glue. So, you're going to want to find, it's really a choice, doesn't have to be any particular one. I'm going to go with this one. You find this line, and you cut it between two of the little V's of the petal, pretty much almost to the center. So that it's like this. Then you're going to take it, you're going to fold it over with the other petals. Mine won't cooperate. So you've got like that. So you take it. I am currently folding the left one over the right one. You just fold it with push it more, then fold it over it. So then you've got this little like corner making a little V, and you're gonna glue them. So you're gonna unfold them, and I always put my glue on the bottom one. So you just put a little dollop of glue sort of near the center. Put that other one over. And squish it down. And you're going to want to do this for all of them. So once again, you're going to choose one of the 4 fold lines that is dividing up all these V's of the petal. And you cut it almost to the middle. Pretty much just the middle. And in this case, I'm going to do it all the same. So I'm going to take the one on the left and put it over the one on the right and fold it and sort of slide and fold. Because the only part you're really folding is sort of in here. You just want to make sure you get that little edge, that little corner. And then put a little dollop of glue on the inside of the bottom one. So, and what I mean by the inside is just near the middle. And then just press and hold. Depending on what glue you're using, you might have to wait a little bit longer than people who are using the hot glue gun, because you want to make sure this is really stuck on. That left one, pushing it over the other one, folding these ones up a little bit to make that little corner. And just pressing it. Last one. Almost to the center, pushing that left one over that right one, and as you push it, it should just pull up these 2 V petals in the back. And I like to line it up first. If you didn't notice, I've been doing that. Sorry, I didn't state it, I just did it automatically. But and just put the little dollop of glue, whatever way is comfortable for you. That's the way I say to go with. Press it. Give them a minute to dry. If you're doing a different glue, you don't have to wait like the 30 minutes for Elmer's or whatever it is, but just until it's dry enough that it sticks a little bit. You'll just have to be gentle when you do the next part. So for the next part, you just want to go around to the edges of all of your little petals, and you just roll them in with that, I have the tipless pencil. Roll them in or out, depending on how you want it to look. And you just sort of want to do it at an angle. So a little bit of an angle at the edge of this petal. Rolling it in. I think I'm going to roll this one out. I like to roll the double layer. Personally, I just like to roll them up because they're going to be at the bottom of your flower in the card. If you don't want any of the white to show, if you have the one with the white on it, you don't have to roll the petals. You could not roll them at all, and then really the white wouldn't show at all. Or you could only roll them backwards. And again, that would prevent the white from showing. But there's multicolored carnations, so I'm gonna go with my white showing. So I'm rolling these up. This is the double layer at the bottom. Mine have a little bit of spidery hot glue gun webs. I'm gonna roll this one out and this one out. They don't have to match. This one in. I see I left a little pencil. Just gonna place that. My eraser is not very good, but I erase that. On this one up, this one up. Go out for this one. And you can also, so I said do it at an angle, but you can also just do it straight depending on what you want it to look like. The angle's just nice for really getting the nice little curls of the petal. Last one. When you're done with this, we're going to grab that card that we put the ribbon on and put to the side. I think I have another little spider web, hot glue spider web. Okay. So you're going to open it up and you want to find that center edge and you're going to take, I'm not gluing these down yet because I'm going to see where I want to put my leaves first, because I put on my leaves first and then I put on my petals. But you take the part with the doubled petals and you're going to put that on the bottom and you're going to line up the straight edge here and here with the center of the card, the center line, and then I like to put my flower in the center of the card, which you can kind of judge on where you put your ribbon. So I haven't glued anything, and then you take your other two, same thing, line them up, put them together. I just like to hold them together because it's making it a little bit faster. You can also do it one by one, and you line them up, and then you line up this part with this side of this petal. So you're making, sort of making a square with all those little corners. So, so there's my square. And you want to make sure it's only on one side of the card. So you're going to glue it as close to the center as possible, but you don't actually want to glue it on the fold. You just want to glue it right next to it. Mine's not really wanting to stay because I haven't glued it down. But so my guesstimation is that's about where it's gonna, my flower is gonna end up. So I kind of want my petals here, 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 fluffy. And then I'm going to put my leaves at an angle. So I'm going to put two leaves about here. I sort of just guesstimate. And then I'm putting mine at a diagonal. So my leaves are going to line up in this case for the carnation with this corner. If you're doing a diagonal fold all the way across the card, and the other ones will line up on this side. So just sort of guesstimate. You might want to push them under a little bit. So my guesstimation is here-ish. You could also put them on afterwards if you don't want to guesstimate. I just prefer to guesstimate. So that's about right. So you just want to put a little dollop of glue. Don't want the white to show. If you have white on one side, you're just going to want to glue them all the way down. I sort of just put them together so they make a little V. It might be a little bit off, but that's okay. So, for the gluing of the petals, you take, I'm going to find that center again, and I found it and I've lined up, if you can't see, this edge pretty much right with the center edge, but it's not on top of it. It's just really close to the side of it. So for this, I like to put my glue on the petal itself. That way I have a little wiggle room if I didn't get it quite right. So about there. And just press it down. So you've got one on. It's very close to that center line, but not quite on it. I might have gone a little bit over, but that'll be okay. Same. So next one, gluing this bottom part, this doubled part, because you want your double layer of petals is going on the bottom. A little dollop of glue. I just like to turn my card, and also so you can see it better. You take this one and you face it so that it's lining up its petals. These V's are lining up. And then you do the same thing. Almost to the middle, but not quite. Line up the petals. And this side of the petals should be like almost on a straight line with your ribbon if you glued it on. If you didn't, if you just made the holes, then it's sort of in line. If the hole's right here, it's in line with the hole. So now you're going to do the next two. So you don't want to glue the two petals together on the part where they're touching in the center of the card, because that'll make it harder when you fold it in half for the pop-up part. If you want to just leave it open all the time, that's fine. You could glue them then, but if you want it to actually be a pop-up card, you want to leave this part unglued. So I've turned mine, and I'm going to do this one. So here, I'll turn it again. You're going to do the same thing. Bottom petals that are overlapped. A little bit of glue. Almost lining up this part. Just going to line up with this. And almost touching that center line, but not quite. And sometimes I pinch it right in the middle where they're touching. So right in here, I'm just pinching a little bit, making sure everything's lining up okay. So I've got one left, and you can see there's like a little triangle to make a little square. Find that little corner, put a little dot glue in it. I think I'm going to have to push it a little bit. There we go. And I'm just going to use this little doll. I'm just going to go like that. My glue gun is not cooperating. Take this little corner, and you slide it right into that little point. So many cobwebs from my glue gun. And line it up with the other ones. And push it in. And now, if you want, that you have all four on, you can go in and glue the petals here. So just on half of it. So not on the middle part, just on the halves, the two different halves of the card. you can go in, you don't have to, but I usually do. You just go in, a little bit of glue, put that in. Again, not gluing in this part in the middle, that's right near the fold. Just gluing them each to each other on the sides. You can play around with the petals more if you want. So, then if your glue did fast, if it's hot glue like mine, and it dried fast, you can just slowly fold it right on that crease. And then you could tie it closed however you want. I'm just going to demonstrate. So I'm going to show you how to make the flower pop up again once you've closed it. So you closed it, and someone's opening it. So this might happen, but that's okay. You just take your fingers and you pinch it. If you really don't want to, as I said, you can glue in here, but I find that ruins petals more than just having them separate a little bit. So all you have to do is pinch the middle, or you can have them, and voila, they've got a carnation. So the next one up is, we're going to set this one aside, and the next one up is the dandelion. So for the dandelion, if you want to use these colors, you're going to use yellow and the light green. And I have pre-cut out my stencils, but it's the one that says dandelion, and it's the pointier one, and the leaf with all the points that's almost like a cat's tail, maybe foxtail. And while people are doing that, I'll give you a second to do that. I did want to share the book on which I learned all these cards from. We actually have it at the Palmyra Library. Just go lean over and grab it. It's called Paper Flower Note Cards by Amiko Yamato. It's by Tuttle. So if you enjoyed these ones, I would definitely put a hold on this book, because it also has These Are Roses on the front and a bunch of other pop-up cards. I'm gonna say, hope people are done folding and getting their stencils ready. So the dandelion is gonna be very similar to the carnation. I'm gonna move my hot glue gun out of the way. So send my stencils aside. I'm gonna do the same thing as last time. I'm just gonna fold my light green in half. And then fold the yellows. Most people have one yellow. I'm going to be doing light yellow and sort of a darker yellow. That's what I have at the moment. Let's see if this is dry. Yeah. So again, I'm just folding it in half. I guess you could say like a card, and then I'm folding that card in half again to make a little square. And just like the carnation, you want to keep track of which side are those folded sides and which side are the loose sides. So these ones, loose sides. And you just want to line them up as you go along, so folded side, loose side, loose side. Half again, and then loose side, folded, put on my stack. because the petals are going to be made the same way as the carnation ones. So in half and half again. Folded side, loose, loose. That was the side. I'm going to trace everything again like last time. This time I'm going to do 6 of the leaves. So I'm going to trace it on 3 times because I filled it in half. Once again, just like the other one, it doesn't have to be exactly like the pattern. Mine's actually a little bit funky on top, but that's fine, because when you think about it, flowers out in nature are definitely not perfect when you look at them really close. And just as a reminder for which one we're making now, I know you saw the completed one for the carnation. This is the dandelion. I'm going to set it aside again. But, so that's what we're going for. I'm going to set it aside because I'm just going to trace everything on. So once again, you take your stencil and you line up its straight edges with the straight edges of your square, but you want to line it up with the folded 2, not the loose 2. One. Once again, you're making 4. You might have noticed that you have 5 pieces of paper in there. That's just in case something happened, or you just want to practice making a petal, anything like that, but you don't actually need all 5. Tracing on my petals. And you do want to, if you're waiting for glue to dry for a really long while, I definitely would not shut the card right away. I would leave it open to dry and not shut it at all until it's completely dry. So I've traced everything. I'm going to put my stencils aside. And I'm just going to start by cutting out my leaves again, like I did with the carnation. Again, I'm moving the scissors and the paper because that's easier for me. And I see some pencil marks. Let's kind of erase those real quick. And again, if you had white on one side for your petals, you just want to fold that on the inside so that the colored part is on the outside. So when you folded this, you want to make sure this part is the white. For me, these ones take a while for me to cut out. Do a little bit of pencil, get rid of that. Oh, it's a little bit more. And these cards are good for any occasion. I personally have just given one to my mom recently and she loved it. Not even for Mother's Day, I just give it to her in general. They kind of make a gift on them by themselves because they take a decent amount of effort to make. You could also, instead of, if you didn't want to make a pop-up card, the flowers can also just be made to go on, say, a present as a present topper or as other decoration. Not really enough left on this one to use anymore, so I'm going to put it in my garbage pile. A little bit of pencil markings. Just start cutting out my petals. You just want to make sure you get that point. I'll make sure you go down a little bit too. Not way far, but so it really looks like a pointed, thin petal. So, again, unfold it, and you'll have like little suns. This one's going to have a few pencil markings on it, so I'm just going to take a quick break and erase those. Another little sun. 2 more to go. So it's definitely gonna have a pencil mark. Last one. Okay, putting my pencil aside, putting my leaves aside. I'm just gonna put them actually on the wood. And just like with the carnation, you wanna choose one of these main 2 folds, this one or this one. I'm gonna go with this one and cut along it almost all the way to the center. And then pull that left over that right. Pull it, line it up. And as you do that, you pull the other ones up and you get that nice little corner again. And I sort of press on it to make it more defined. And then I'm gonna put a little dot of glue on that bottom one. Right, sort of here in the middle. One's done. Take one of these lines. I'm gonna go with this one. And cut it all the way up, almost to the middle again. And then you take that left one and you push it over that right one so that it goes over it, and then pull up the other 2 corners and make that nice little corner. Sort of reinforce it. And then put the little dot of glue sort of near the middle. My glue gun is not working great, but there we go. Two. Okay, I'm going to use this one. In this case, I'm using the longer one. And left over the right, make that 2 petals. Take that little corner, reinforce it, and then put your little dot of glue really close to that center one. Set it aside, let it sit if you need to. Last one, same procedure. And almost to the middle. On that left over my right. So make a little stuck. There we go. I'm gonna cut it a little bit more. Might have to pull it over. Put that little corner. Put your little dot of glue. That bottom part. And push it down right in that corner and set it aside. Alright, now, like last time, we're going to be taking our pencil without the tip, or whatever you wanted to use to roll your petals. And you do the same thing you do with the carnations petals. You're just going to take it and roll these in, sort of at an angle, or straight, or out. I usually just mix it up. And then I roll again. I roll the ones that are two on top of each other. I roll all those ones up because they're going to be the bottom ones again. These are in my way, so I'm going to put them to the side. Okay. So you're going to grab your other card. You want to open it up, find that center crease line again, and just like last time, you want to take the straight edges of your petals, and you got to find the middle based on, if you did your ribbon in the middle, you just sort of find the middle and place them about like halfway in the middle, so then your flower will be exactly in the middle. I'm going to put my scissors down on this side because I want it to stay more flat. I'm going to alternate dark yellow, light yellow, dark yellow, light yellow. And again, I have not glued these down, but you're going to take this corner and this corner, slide them together, sort of like you're making a little square. Might bounce a little bit. I'm going to put my scissors right there, actually. Again, take this one, same thing, line up the straight edges, and oops, I'm going to put it over there. So, and then line up the straight edges, and I haven't glued anything down. This is just to guesstimate where it'll be, so I can put down my leaves. So instead of going on a diagonal for the dandelion, I'm going to do 3 on each side, sort of all pointing. So I've got one pointing straight towards this corner, one just straight on parallel with the ribbon going across, and the other one pointing straight towards this corner, so straight diagonal, and then you just mirror image it on the other side. So this one's going straight towards this corner, this one's parallel with the ribbon, and the flat edge is the part I'm putting under the flower. And this point is going straight towards this corner. So I'm just going to take this out. So again, it's guesstimated, so let's see if I can get my glue gun to work. Okay. You just pick it up, you get, again, I'm going to put it on the leaf. Okay, it's still not coming out well, but I'm gluing my own glue gun. And put it just on the little bottom part, and I think it was just about there. Again, just mirror imaging it, pointing it towards those corners, or in the case the middle, making it parallel to that ribbon. Do it that way. Don't need a lot. And you just want to mirror image it, make it about the same amount away from the center as the other one. You just want to put the glue on this little bit of the bottom part. There we go, finally. Okay. So, once again, I'm just going to turn it so you can see that center line better. Get these out of the way. Put a little dollop of glue on this little corner. Make sure it's the part that has the double. Oh, it's still not working. There we go. Alright, I'm just going to do this again. So I've got my little dollop of glue. You take this straight edge and find that middle point and line it up right at the edge of that fold line, but not quite on it. And it's about, for my ribbon that's sort of in the middle, I did it like halfway over the ribbon. As I said, I'm going to alternate. So now I'm going to do my dark yellow. Going to do it this way. So then take that little corner and you line it up, this petal with this petal, and this straight edge with this straight edge. Cut that side. little corner. Put that little dollop of glue down here. And then, again, little dollop of glue, lining up almost with that center point. Putting it right beside it and lining up this square with this square. Now, I'm just going to do it now. You can glue, you could glue all the sides together, but I personally only glue the sides that are not coming together on the fold line. So this side, on one half of the card, I'm going to put a little dollop of glue in there. And then once again, you're going to put all the glue, if I can get my glue gun to, there we go. Put a little dollop of glue on the bottom here. Came off a little bit, but that's fine. That was a little more than a little dollop, but that's fine. And then you have this little corner, this little triangle, kind of fits in here just like a pie piece. That's what I wanted to say earlier, like a pie piece. If you were putting pie pieces back in. I don't know who does that, but I guess if you snuck a pie piece and didn't eat it and decided to sneak it back in, this is how it could fit. So then you just sneak it back in and you line up this corner and this corner, so this side with this side. Last piece, almost on that middle fold line, but not quite. And then sort of just take your fingers, pinch them all into the middle. And left your petals. Alright, my leaves are a little bit off, my estimation. It's not great, but these ones came out, and that's fine. It just basically shows there's leaves around your dandelion. And then if it's quick drying, once again, you can just shut it. You just want to be careful and you sort of just shut it in the middle. Very gently, like don't push it hard in the middle, just shut it lightly. That's why you're tying it closed. Then tie it. I'm not going to tie it this time, and then I'm just going to open it. And as you can see, you just want to fluff those petals and push them in between. If you don't want this to appear, you can glue it if you want to, but then it can fold petals in a weird way. So I just choose to not glue there and push it all together. And you now have a dandelion. If you don't want this to happen, if that's something you really don't like visually, you can always put them on after you put on the flower. It's not required that you put them on before. And now you've got a dandelion. And those are the two cards. And we are done.